Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video I will show you this radio that Retevis has sent me for do an unboxing and a review. So let's start with the unboxing of this radio. It has been packaged very well in a double box, as you can see here. So let me get this box out of the way. So what is inside the box? Inside the box we have our typical manual. We'll go over the details of the radio later. Manual is in English only. So there are some characteristics explained in the manual that I will put it on the screen in detail. In the box is the radio, of course, with the antenna attached already. So we'll look at this later. We also have the belt clip here that goes into the radio. As you can see here, it doesn't go into the battery, it goes into the radio here. And it has a couple more accessories. So this is the USB cable, USB-A to USB-C here. Normal USB on the other side, and this cable, it helps to charge the battery directly with a USB connector, as you can see here in the back of the battery. We have also the mandatory hand strap, and of course the cradle based charger, which also has an USB C type of connector for the power supply. One thing I noticed in this box, it didn't come with the power supply. I was looking at other unboxing videos and I noticed that some other reviewers got the power supply. This probably was a demo or something like that. So for me, it didn't come with the power supply. So I want to also disclose that this radio has been sent to me by Retevis to do a review and an unboxing video. So I didn't purchase this radio. And now we're gonna focus on the exterior of the radio. And we're going to start with the top. So in the top, we have two knobs. So this is the power on and volume knob. Here is a channel selector, which I really like with the radios that come with this type of control, the channel selector. And then the orange button is the alarm button. It has different ways of you can program this alarm button. This radio, it has an IP67 water protection, so it can be submerged up to 1 meter in water for half an hour, and nothing is supposed to happen to the radio. So in the antenna connector, there are a couple of things. One is a rubber seal around the antenna connector. And also the antenna connectors is the different type. It's not like the Baofangs or other Chinese radios. These ones, the center pin is on the antenna itself. It's not on the SMA connector. As you can see here, this is a normal female SMA connector. The antenna can be attached permanently on the radio. So to do that in a way that you cannot remove the antenna, I'm removing this rubber seal, and under the rubber seal there is hex screw here that you can tie onto the connector, and that will prevent the antenna to come undone from the radio. So that is a thing that I never seen before in any antennas. So that's a different thing. Like I mentioned earlier, this radio, it has IP67 waterproofing. So because of that, on the right side for your speaker and microphone connector, which is also the programming connector for your CPS. It has a different type of connector that is sealed. So the radio has no holes that will prevent the water to come inside of the radio. So now, if we move into the other side, we have our typical PTT button, large button, it has no specific pivot point. Anywhere you press, it will PTT. And there are two function buttons that here you can see, one with one dot and the other with two dots, that you can program for different functions. Other than that, in the front of the radio, we have a screen that is 1.77 inches in diagonal. And you have your typical keypad with menu, exit, up and down buttons, and the numbers and the symbols. The buttons, it has the functionality already written on each button instead of letters that we normally see on phones. So you can, this button is that CTC, transmission power, scan, step, TOT, all this kind of functionality you can read directly on the button itself. Then one more thing I want to mention about the exterior. This radio, it feels really, really good on the hand. It has these expansions on the top, so the radio will not slip if your hand is wet or transpire, right? It will not go anywhere. It's very nice. It has a nice weight. The plastic, the case is all plastic, but it really feels solid and not cheap. So overall, it seems like a very well constructed radio for the price. So now let's talk about the battery of the radio. The battery is 2800 milliamp hours. So it has a clip here. It's very tight. So as you can see, it takes a lot of effort to get it removed because it's sealed, right? So in the radio itself, you can see the connector for the battery is it has this orange rubber seal to prevent the water to come inside. And the battery itself, it seems to be all sealed. Like I mentioned, it's a 2800 milliamp hour battery, and is a 7.4 volt DC. On the battery itself, it has the cradle connectors for charging on the cradle. It has a LED that it will turn on red when you're charging with the USB-C connector that you can see here on the back of the battery. In this chapter of the video, I will cover the price and specifications of the radio. To do that, I navigated to the Retevis website, and I brought up the page that has all that information for you in here. So currently, this radio is selling directly from Retevis for $39.99 US, and is free shipping, as you can see here. The main specifications they listed here on their website is, like I mentioned earlier, IP67 waterproof, a battery that is 2800 milliamp hours in capacity. It supports Type-C charging, USB Type-C. It has a handband dual receiving for VHF and UHF bands. And it has 250 channels, and 220 are customizable channels. The other 30 channels that you cannot change are fixed channels, which are, of course, the GMRS channels. We can scroll a little bit down here. You will see all their materials, the pictures and all that on their website with all the specifications. Also showcase that is waterproof. This is a good radio if you take for fishing or for kayaking, this type of outdoor activities. You drop it in the water and it will survive. We talk about already the USB charging. We talk already about the battery capacity. We're going to cover this next on the video. When we go back to the radio, we're going to talk about the screen. What else we have in here? Dual standby. Yes, it has two BFOs, and you can listen to the two BFOs or the two channels at the same time. And of course, it will transmit on the blue one. There are also it has the weather alert, and you can receive the NOAA channels for the weather information. We'll see that when we go back to the radio. Like most of Chinese radios, it has an FM radio receiving capability, and keyboard can be locked. We will see that later. All this functionality, we will see it. I want to get into specifications. Yeah, this part. This is where I wanted to get, which is close to the bottom of the page. So it has 250 channels. It's a GMRS type of radio. It receives both handbands, UHF and VHF, but it is locked. You cannot transmit. However, I've seen videos and some information that the radio can be unlocked. This is not something that I support. I rather do not unlock my radios. Actually, none of my radios is unlocked. You can do that on this radio. So the power in low is half a watt, in high is 5 watts, and we will do a measurement of that at the end. What else we have here? We talk about the Motorola type of connector for waterproofing on the side. The working temperature, we didn't mention that, here it says minus 20 Celsius to plus 55 Celsius. And of course, the typical antenna impedance is 50 ohms, which is common in all the telecommunications equipment. This is all what is included in the box, the stuff that is here in green. Mine didn't come with the adapter, but probably because it's a demo unit. And that's everything for this part. Let's jump now into the screen, back to the radio. So for this part of the video, we're going to talk about the screen of the radio. And to do that, I have to darken the gain of the camera so the screen can be captured properly. So you can see here, the radio is on, and we have a full color screen included on the radio. It has the letters on the screen are black over blue, which sometimes that could be very difficult to read, especially when you are outdoors. In the camera, it looks okay. You can read it properly because I adjusted the camera to work better with the radio. Another thing that is worth to mention is the blue background and the black font on the screen for the active channel, which is the one on the top, as you can see here now on the radio. It's very hard to read outside on a sunny day. So because of that, Retevis has provided an upgrade or an update for the firmware of the radio. That one of the things that fix is that thing. So in the new firmware, which I don't have the cable yet to upgrade, but I will do, and then probably by the end of the video will show the difference. The new font on the blue background is white, which makes much more easier to read on a bright day outside. The rest of the things on the screen, colors and all that, you will see it now when we cover the menu options. So before we start looking at the menu options, let's do first general functionality walkthrough of the radio in this mode that is now. As you can see here, I have two channels set, one in the GMRS 1 and in the other BFO, I have the GMRS 3. You can switch the BFOs with the asterisk button. As you can see here, the active BFO is the blue one, is the one that if I press the PTT is the one that it will transmit. The another thing that this radio does, as you can see, when you press the PTT, you can see what frequency the radio is transmitting right there on the screen. The way to switch between channels that you can flip with the knob here on the top. As I'm rotating the knob, you can see the channels changing. The way that you can exit from this mode, channel mode, to the BFO mode and enter the frequency manually is by pressing the exit key and keep it pressed until you see VFO 1 in that case. Or if I move to the other one, I will do the same thing. You see BFO 2 and you see the two frequencies right there on the screen that I have set up. How you change frequencies? It's very easy. You just type the frequency that you want to listen in. So for example, if I want to listen in UHF, I will put four zeros and all zero complete until the end, until the last one. And then you hit menu, and I will have that my BFO1 now set to UHF for 40 megahertz. Keys on the keyboard are backlit, as you can see here. They backlit when the screen is on. And as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, each key has written the functionality. So for example, if you want to scan, you just press the scan button and you keep it pressed, and then you can see now the radio is scanning on the UHF band. If you want to scan the channels, what you do, you switch with the long press of the exit, you go back to channel mode, and then if you long press the scan button, it will start scanning your GMRS channels, as you can see here on the screen. And what also it does, at the same time that it's scanning on the BFO1 GMRS channels, is at the same time is listening on this VHF frequency that I have in the second VFO. So I'm going to stop the scanning and show you a little bit more around the functionality. Up and down buttons, it does the same functionality that the knob. So I will say in this case, the knob on the top, this one here, the channel knob, and the up and down buttons on the keyboard, they have the same functionality. Now we will cover the menu options, and to do that I will just show you the main options in the menu without going too deep into the menus, because it has a lot of possibilities and adjustment here that probably require an entire video on itself. So how you go into the menu, right there on the screen is telling you the function that these two keys are doing. So this is menu and this is exit. So I press menu, and we can see the menus on the top. You can navigate through the menu with the knob from the top of the radio, like this, or you can navigate with the arrow keys like I mentioned earlier. They looks like they do the same functionality. So the first option in the menu is your radio settings, then your zone settings, channel settings, scan settings. All these settings are very similar to the settings that you will find on a DMR, on the CPS software for any typical DMR radio. This radio is not DMR, this radio is not digital, but it's the same kind of functionality that you will find on a, for example, on a Motorola radio. Then you have signaling. You have the settings for the emergency. That is done through the orange button here on the top. You can program how that orange button works. And then you have call tones and your FM radio receiver. Then after that, you have your weather settings. At the end, the last option is to do a factory reset of the radio. I will quickly go through each one of these options, but without stopping too much, just to show you what are the options, and then we move on into the last part of the video. In the radio settings, you have the display mode, the band setting, the backlight, key function, the key function on the side, those two key functions beside the PTT, audio settings, Vox, and power save. The menu timeout setting, language is only, I checked that is only English in this version I have, and radio information. This is important because the firmware version I have is the version 10109.001, and the next version available, the 10110, is as I mentioned earlier, the version that fixes the color in the BFO mode of the display, so it's easy to read outside. Band setting, you have what BFO you want to have. You can turn one BFO off or on if you don't want to receive. If you don't have the dual receive, you can do that from here. The next option is the backlight, how long you want to keep the backlight, the key function to program that, audio, Vox, power save, menu timeout, and the language like I mentioned earlier. The next option in the menu is the zone setting. In that one, you can activate all channels or different zones, and you can have more than 2 zones. To do that, you will need to use the software, the programming software that you can download from the Retevis website. Then you have your channel settings. Go to each channel, and in each channel you can set up the name, the bandwidth, the receiving frequency, the transmitting frequency, your CTC or DCS tones, the squelch level for that particular channel, the transmission power, the transmission permission set, the type of signaling system that you want to use, and in what scan list you want to include. And if you want to use this to transmit your emergency when you press the orange button, then you have talk around and inverse, and if the channel is Vox enabled or not. So that will be the same for each channel. Then you have your scan settings that you can select different scan options, signaling, common setting for all channels or VFO, and then specific for DTMF. Then you have your emergency settings that you can set up how the radio will behave when you press the orange button. Call tones, and the FM radio, where you can turn the radio on and you can scan different frequencies, as you can see here, of the FM radio. Then you can exit and leave the radio on, or select, turn the radio off, and then exit. And the next option is the weather setting. In the weather setting, you have 2 options. If you want to turn on the weather alarm or not, or the second option, to listen to a specific NOAA channel. In my case, it's not good receiving indoors, but 3 or 4 are the ones that I receive in my area. Factory reset, as I mentioned earlier, it will turn all the settings to the original settings from the factory. Those are all the options very quickly that this radio has on the menu. As you can see, it's very versatile. There is a lot of configurations that can be done, and there is much more that you can do using the CPS software or the programming software available from Retevis. I will do a power test in high power and low power to show you the output of this radio. Like I mentioned earlier, this radio is not unlocked, so I can only transmit on the GMRS frequencies. I will use the channel 1 in high power now to do a test. I'm gonna press the PTT button here for a while, and I have a dummy load attached, and as you can see here, the WSR is 1 because you have a dummy load, and the power is 5.63 watts. So it's over 5 watts, which is the specification that is provided by Retevis in high power. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the radio to low power. There is some button specific on the screen that you can do that very quickly. So I'm turning to low power and selecting that. I'm gonna press PTT again to see how much power this radio transmits in low power. And as you can see, the reading in here is transmitting 0.6 watt, or a little bit over half a watt in low power. So specifications are a little bit better than what Retevis has provided. I have to mention that in Canada, where I am located, the maximum power for a GMRS service is 2 watts. having said that, this is the last part of the video, and I hope you enjoy the presentation, the review, and the unboxing. And if you like, please click the like button and subscribe so you can be alerted of my next video. Thanks for watching, and until the next time.